Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and we're about to get started with the Dispatchers Roundtable, and this is going to be round 39. But first, as always, a word from our sponsor.
At InDigital, we know that public safety professionals hold themselves to a high standard. In fact, standard doesn't do it justice. In over 25 years working alongside you, carrying millions of calls over our IP networks, your dedication has inspired us. That's why our ESI Net goes beyond industry standards, not only i3 compliant, but designed to adapt to future development for a network you can count on when it matters most. Learn more at indigital.net.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact on the first responder answering the call? From Titletown Publishing, and available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday. If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. And this is round 39 of the Dispatchers Roundtable. Now, I'm just checking everything to make sure that everything is going good. Sometimes the internet goes out and it sucks, but it looks like everything is good to go for the moment. So let me throw something in here really quick, and we will get started here. So this is, as I said, going to be round 39. I have to ask for everyone to give me a little grace because I'm not feeling the greatest right now. But the show must go on. The show must go on, and you can probably hear I'm slightly nasally, but I'm excited for this round. You know, I've been doing the Dispatchers Roundtable for about 4 years now, and we're on round 39. And I was doing it twice a month and then once a month, and then it ended up going for a few months where we weren't doing a round, but that is only because everything that I'm doing got so crazy busy. But we're back. We're back for 2024, and we've got rounds that are coming up monthly. So it's going to be good. A lot of great education and everything. Just to say really quick, when the DRT started, the very first round, or actually version of what this was going to be, was back during episode 43 of Within the Trenches podcast. That was the first one. Google had come out with something called Google On Air, and I wanted to try it out. It was the very first time. This was back in 2013, I believe, 2013 or 2014, something like that. It was something new that they were doing. You were able to bring people up on screen. The problem, however, was that the internet wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the greatest to be able to pull people in. One of my guests actually had the opportunity to be on, and we were able to get through the whole episode, but another person that was on, it didn't work. It did not work for them. And so it took years for the Dispatchers Roundtable to, just come to fruition. But it has been excellent. And this live broadcast is sponsored by In Digital as well as Prepared. And a shout out to subscribers of the podcast, as always, whether you are on Circle, Patreon, or Facebook. Thank you all for being a subscriber, because I wouldn't be able to do what I do here if it wasn't for all of you, but especially all of you who are watching, listening, supporting, sharing, all of it. And I'm it's going to be good. There's a lot of good content, a lot of good rounds that are going to be coming up. But today's round 39, is going to be with Sandra Wesley, and she is the ECC Education Manager with Prepared. And our topic for today is going to be assistive 911 technology for the staffing crisis. So if you have any questions at all, please throw them in the comments. We are currently live on Facebook, LinkedIn Live, YouTube, X, and Instagram. That's right. We're live on all of these platforms right now, and it's good to have you all here. Now, even if you were unable to watch this live, it'll immediately go into replay mode, and you can throw questions in there, and people will be watching and everything to be able to answer those. But while we're here live, if you have any questions at all, please throw them in the comments, and we will answer them as we go along. So again, as I said, my guest today is going to be Sandra Wesley, and she is the ECC Education Manager with Prepared. So let me see if we can pull her in here. All right. Hello. And it looks like you're slightly frozen.
Hello.
There you go. Hello. How are you doing? Is everything going good? Like your screen is frozen, but we can hear you.
Looks like we're still loading.
So I can hear you. We are currently live.
Okay, that's excellent. I know that it seems like I'm having internet issues, so I've got someone coming in to try and back me up a little bit, just in the event that this doesn't go any than what it started. So
Okay. Yeah, no worries at all. And if I need to send anyone who's coming in to help you out a link or anything like that, uh let me know and I can send them a link as well. So,
okay,
other than internet issues, how are you doing?
I am well. Thank you so much. Things are exciting here. Prepared.
All right, awesome. So, for those who are watching and listening right now who might not know, first off, about you, a little background on your public safety experience.
Sure. I started public safety in the early 90s, actually in EMS. I did that for about 5 years until I got pretty burnt out. I did what most people that you see in EMS done. I worked a couple jobs, I burned out quite twice as fast, as I like to say. Wanted one of those jobs in dispatch. It was not a natural fit for me. I'll be the first to tell you the multitasking. I come from being at a good solid skill set where I was at into coming in not knowing anything and just I learned to embrace it and grew, and it was a fabulous career. I guess I was there around 23 years or so. Went on to teach at the police academy here in Kentucky, and went ahead and retired out of the public safety, and still get to be a little part of that over on the private side here at Prepared.
See, that is excellent, and with 23 years, I can just imagine all kinds of things that you dealt with, things that you heard, and, we did an episode as well. I believe it was episode 529, so for anyone who is watching and listening, if you wanna learn more about, Sandra and her story and her journey and everything, please make sure to check out that episode. It was an excellent, excellent one, and I have to ask before we get into some of these questions, with our topic today about assistive 911 technology for the staffing crisis, when you ended up going into, more of the training aspect, but also your transition to Prepared, what really pushed you towards that?
Um, I enjoyed the training. I really did. I enjoyed seeing all types of dispatch skill levels across the state of Kentucky. That was fabulous. But I had served my time. I was able to draw my state pension. Yay, that's what we all work for, right? To at least make it across the finish line, and then you get to have some fun. Um, but it just, I felt like I had done what I was supposed to do for a long time, and then I got to go do what I wanted to do, and see how I could use what I had learned over the years in a broader sense.
See, that is always good to be able to have that amount of experience, but not just that. The experience to bring to a company like this. I think some of the best companies that are out there are ones that have those who come from the center because they're able to kind of mold those products and services or whichever from the user's perspective. Do you kind of feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely. Um, but I'm not against new folks in it either, to be quite
Mhm.
honest with you, because personally, I may have been a little grow and expand in our space, and sometimes fresh eyes are a good thing.
Mhm.
I do think it's good that, like, we've got a strong public safety presence on our team, so we can help guide some of those things and work as a reference for them. But I really like seeing things that I never even thought to come to fruition. And I work with a very talented group that amazes me every month.
Awesome. Now, I wanna bring in, one of your coworkers here. Looks like the name is, Justin Henning, so I'm gonna pull him up on the screen as well. Hello,
Mhm.
hello.
I'm hoping his internet will be better than mine.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah. So Justin, for you as well, a little introduction on yourself, your public safety background and everything, please.
Yep. My name is Justin Henning. I'm one of the customer success managers here at Prepared. I've been here just 2 weeks or 2 years last week. Prior to that, I spent the last 20 years in the fire and EMS service, 18 of those in a 911 dispatch center in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where I am from.
That is awesome. So, same question for you. What was some of the, kind of the inspiration or whichever, motivation to make that transition into the, the private side of 911 and becoming an industry partner with Prepared?
We sit back in our individual centers, and the job drives us to help people. And I started realizing more and more that we had talked about next generation 911 and all these things that were possible. And I remember sitting back on a lot of calls going, man, if I could have done this, maybe this would have happened. Something would have changed. So when the opportunity presented itself to come work for a company where these ideas are coming to fruition and we can get it out there to as many centers as possible to help them do their job easier and remove that thought of what if I, instead of we gave you the capability to do it. You did everything within your powers that you could have. Um, I just had to jump all over it, and I've loved every minute of it.
See, I have to say that I'm slightly jealous. And, I always say this when I hear about cool, new, technology that's coming into, our profession in 911 because I wish I had that when I was in dispatch. I wish, over and over, all types of, technology that's there, especially because of the mental health, aspect of it. And what I mean by that is I remember, years ago, I would be taking let's just say a call from someone who was lost. Let's just say in a game area, state game area or something. They're calling from a cell phone that just doesn't have service. I mean, service technically, but all they can do is call 911, right? And it's hard to get a location on that. And once you have exhausted your resources, and let's just say you lose that phone call, where do you go from there? And then you don't know where the person is, you don't know if they ever found them, and because we deal with closure, um, you that ends up impacting you, right? It ends up impacting you in the sense where now you don't know what happened to this person, you don't know any of that, but with technology like this, it kind of, it takes that away. Do you feel like it helps with the mental health aspect in that sense?
Yeah, we're giving the opportunity, even if it's just from a 911 hang up, that knowing that you gave not only the ability to call someone back and they didn't answer, you can also text with them. We've given them, that ability that if they can't speak freely or if they're deaf of hard of hearing, we still found another method to communicate with them. We've had several of those cases where someone does get lost, whether they're out hunting and get off the beaten path or get themselves injured. And again, very limited cell phone signal. Those calls are coming in, but they drop right away. But you can text with them, try to gauge some sort of information to get help out there. So being able to have that additional outreach and ability to do more to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward helps with a lot of that closure and making sure that people aren't sitting back, Monday morning quarterbacking themselves saying, what
Right.
what if I could have done this? We're giving them the tools that, hey, you have the ability to do it. You've done everything within your powers, and that's all. That's all you got to walk out of the agency with at the end of the day.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I agree. So let's jump right in here because we've got several questions and everything that we want to go over. And excuse me, there was also a lot that people were asking in the comments when I had posted on Facebook and other places, and I want to get to some of that as well because I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to a lot of technology out there, but more so for what we're talking about here with you guys as well. So um, here we go with the first question here. So why did Prepared decide to focus on assistive 911 technology? And also, what does that mean exactly? Because I think that's one of the things a lot of people want to know. There was a graphic that was put out there that talks about assistive 911 technology. So let's start with that first. What exactly does that even mean?
Being able to assist the call taker, dispatcher, the center itself, um, in obtaining as much information as possible and disseminating that information to the responders so that we can better assist the public. But assisting them, and it's an extra set of ears on that call to be able to pull that information. We're being asked to do more and more in the centers with less and less. Having that again, all that information presented to you right there. Being able to see what the caller has said and not just hear it while also listening to things in the background, like possibly a radio. All that information is presented right there for you. Get key insights, be able to send that information out to better do our jobs, saving, as we know, seconds count. We're able to shave off a couple of seconds here and there, assist ourselves in getting that information out easier and smoother.
So what types of information are we talking here as you're saying, to save seconds and, shave that time and everything? What are some of those key components? Because these are things that people don't know, they don't understand. So there's a lot that goes, as and myself as well. I was, 911 dispatcher and supervisor for 13 years. What are some of these elements that are being assisted with?
Yep. All the way from just addresses and phone numbers, making sure we see and understand those correctly and have that information because we have to get them to the scene, the correct scene first. But from there, when people provide those descriptions, making sure we understood the description, have the description easily pulled aside, whether it's a suspect description, vehicle description, mentioning of weapons, being able to have it set up where, if you have a multi-seat center and there's a supervisor that's trying to keep an eye on everyone, having the ability to have certain calls flagged so that hey, someone might need to step in here and help out on this. It's a active call where a weapon was mentioned. Being able to have that kind of insight and ability to see all this stuff.
And then as we're going into this as well, and you're kind of naming off or going through a lot of these features and such, what is the view on AI's involvement in this as well?
I know a lot of people get scared about when they hear AI,
Mhm.
but I mean it's truly doing its part of being able to listen, transcribe, provide you with the information that's there. It's a thinks a lot quicker than we do. Has the ability to pull the information. It's just able to pick up on certain key elements that are important that we decide that are important within the dispatch center that we need to see and have alerts on.
So I guess, what are some of those pieces? There's a lot that goes into this. When we're talking about AI, and I've heard a lot of discussions, and I've used AI myself. So when you're talking about some of these things that you're involved with or that are implemented or whichever, that the user is going to be able to see, are you talking like transcription? Is there, certain pieces that can be seen that end up going into a CAD call, or how exactly does this work? Because again, there are, and I know there's only so much you can say, right? But for this type of discussion that we're having, these are key elements that are potentially able to help with the staffing crisis. And that's another thing that I want to get into here as well. But when we're talking about the AI piece, what are some of those elements that is built into prepared that those who are using this under the headset can really take advantage of?
Some of those big ones are the ability to, when the caller provides, that suspect description, it's able to pull out and put that in a separate area that you can simply copy, paste, pull that information right over instead of having to try and come over into CAD, type that out as they piecemeal it through a couple of different sentences and questions. The AI is able to pick up that information and put it right into a well-built, easy to read description that you're able to just copy and paste and throw right in, make sure we get that out to the units.
Excellent. And Sandra, um, what about you as well? When we're talking about AI and the involvement of it as the ECC education manager, what are some of the things that you are also assisting with and putting out there for those who have any questions?
Of course, a lot of them have major concerns, and you all may have already covered this. It's just that we're going to replace dispatchers. And I'm always just taken back by that because I'm like, have you
Right.
ordered at a kiosk lately? Nobody's replacing dispatchers.
Right.
All we're doing is we're just trying to help. We are helping the dispatchers. We want to be able to assist them and how that they are processing information quicker. And they have got, they're so short staffed, really, that it is a absolute staffing crisis, not just in the dispatch center, but in public safety altogether. I was speaking to a couple directors this past weekend of 911 directors here in Kentucky. And, you would used to get dozens of applicants for every position that you had available, and now they're getting zero applicants. I mean, not even ones to weed out. There is literally no one applying for those jobs. So as we try to tackle that and how to project that and going forward, how can prepared help assist? And of course, we have to address the staffing crisis. And if we're able to let the dispatchers who are currently in the seats able to process that information so much quicker, it's going to make their job more pleasurable, of course, less stress on them, so we can retain the folks that we have. And if we're able to bring extra staff on board, that's extra. That's it.
Mhm.
That's those extra days off we can take because we have help. So it's um, truly a lifelong community in public safety across the company, and I believe that the AI feature is just another way that our company is showing that.
Excellent. Now, that's just one of the misconceptions that people have, right? That AI is going to replace everything and everyone, and especially when as we're talking here about 911 dispatch as well. But what are some of the other misconceptions? I can see already, or just a thought in my head that people immediately think it comes in right away when the call comes in, when they're taking it and they're using a program such as prepared, they're going to be seeing everything in front of their face right away. So let's squash that right now. How exactly does that work? Does it come in blurred? Do they have the option to unblur? How does that work?
I'll speak on it if you want me to, but
Mhm.
it's
Sure.
totally customizable per user. If a user doesn't want to see anything from the beginning, they can choose to blur all media. They have that option. If they want to say, okay, we want to see what it is. And most of the time that's what happens because it's not like these calls are just coming in. The dispatcher gets to vet what type of calls they want to send this out on according to their policy. So if they say, okay, this is not going to be helpful on this type of complaint, but it would be on this one, so they know what they're sending this out on and what they're liable to see for the most part. If you're taking a barking dog complaint, you're probably going to see a dog, right? So you have a glimpse of what you're sending this on, and if you choose to use it, fine, and if not, fine. But there is so many different ways that it's helpful, and it's not a requirement. They don't have to see anything.
So And I don't know how much either one of you can speak on this, but as we're talking about some of those policies and procedures, are there any of those parts that you know of that you can kind of share a little bit for those who are watching and listening that might be wanting to get some sort of ideas? So, what I mean by that, in just in this a simple sense of, are there things in certain policies and procedures of those that are using prepared where it like automatically is sent to, let's just say, one console where a supervisor is sitting only and supervisors only are able to see it? Or are there other places where everyone who's using it is able to blur or unblur? I mean, what are some of those things of how, I guess, basically how some of the centers have it implemented there? For either one of you who
Um,
would like to jump in.
Yeah, I'll start and then I'll let Justin finish up on what he is seeing lately. But it, for me, it has varied as widely as the center itself. Their policies, some, let's say it's a 911 hang up call. I have seen it run the gamut. Some don't respond at all. Some will send a message. Some is not going if they say that they're fine. Others are going even if they do say they're fine. So, and the policies that we've seen with the use of prepared are just as fast. They may say you could use it if you choose, you have to use it, you may use it, but if you don't, write a memo. We have really just seen this. And that's the great thing about it. Prepared is set up in such a way that you can tailor it to what the usage would be for your center. We really do try to work with each one of the centers to make sure that it is really customizable for those folks and how that they anticipate using it. So that is what I have seen. What about you, Justin?
I agree. I like to use this analogy a lot. Centers are not one size fits all. Neither is prepared. We work when a center decides they want to move forward with it. We work very closely with them on what's going to work best for your agency, because that's what matters. It's here to be a tool to assist you in your day-to-day functions, but it needs to work and fit within how your agency wants to roll it out. So we obviously provide a lot of use cases that other agencies have been successful with, and determine what the best fit is for each individual agency as they roll something like this out. And one of those other crazy misnomers that you might have been getting ready to get to that I see come up all the time is, not only does the video go out on every single call, but how am I going to be able to hide my face? I can change my tone, but my facial expression, I'm going to get fired in the first week. It's not FaceTime, ladies and gentlemen. We're only seeing the scene. They can't see us.
And yes, you are correct. That was where I was going to be going next, because that is one of the things that people ask all the time. And like we've known each other for a while. And I know how it pretty much works, but I always tell them you need to go and like see the demo, or you need to go, to their website or the FAQs and ask, because only know so much, and I don't want to speak on things that, other things that I don't know. So this was good that you said that. So there you go, folks. Um, they can't see you. You can see them, but they can't see you, which is a good thing. Because yeah, you're right. Your face says everything, and when you're taking a call, you don't think about it sometimes. Someone might say something, you're like, oh no. You might not say oh no, but your face is definitely saying it. So yes, thank you for that. That is good right there. But I also like knowing how customizable everything is, because there are, companies out there, maybe still, I don't know for sure, but there probably are some out there that they don't give that option. They don't have that option. They're just, this is what we have, and you either use it or you don't. But hey, you already paid for it or whatever, But it's one of the things that I loved about when I was working for In Digital. We had a texting platform, and they did the same thing where it's customizable. But also, the reason I asked about policies and procedures is because throughout the entire state of Indiana, what they were doing is they kind of changed their 911 hang up policy, where a lot of people were now texting from 911 out to their folks after a 911 hang up call. And it really helped out with a lot of that. And again, that's why I was asking about the policy and procedures and how certain people are using it, because with some products and services, it completely changes the policy and procedure of what it is that they're doing, but also doing it in such a way that is going to help with just everything all around. So,
And And I will say, if I can expand on that for just a
Yeah,
second,
for
a
sure.
lot of
Go for it.
people have an issue trying to write policies around something like prepare
Mhm.
just because it's new technology, it's inner space. So a lot of times, they struggle with how would you word something like that, or how do you build that into your policies, especially when some of the other pieces are still trying to catch up with that technology. Um, so what we do offer is, we'll offer a sample policy, just a model policy so dispatch centers do not have to invent the wheel, that they can modify and edit to their liking. But it's just a jumping off point that we offer to try and further assist the dispatch centers.
Awesome. Now, as we're going into this and looking into some of the features as well, and some of the stories that come with the usage of a service like Prepared, one of the things that the main topic, the title of this entire broadcast is "Assistive 911 Technology for the Staffing Crisis." So here's the question: how exactly does all of this assist with the staffing crisis? In what way?
You
You
can do
mentioned
more
all the
with less.
features.
Yeah.
Say that
You can
again?
do more with less. You can do more with less. You can accomplish not only at the rate that they are now, as far
Mhm.
as being able to process call times and so forth, but they can do it with less people than that they would have thought. And not necessarily that that's replaced dispatch. It's just helping the ones
Right.
there actually be able to perform their job accurately. Because how many times does some of this information come in? So much is being thrown at them. What did I miss? Am I going to end up sued? Am I going to end up in the director's office because I missed a vital piece of information? And that's a real concern just for the
Mhm.
liability part for dispatchers. So if they're able to feel more confident that they've caught everything that they could as we're bringing all this information in, because it's coming in, we're not going to be able to stop it. Dispatch can't stop it. This information
Right.
is going to continue to inundate them. What do you do with it? And what we do is we help them process it.
And
Exactly.
And the
Go
other
ahead.
part we're seeing here is with the staffing crisis, that median age of, hey, someone's been in the center for 10, 15, 20 years has drastically dropped. It's 1 to 3 to 5 years of service. So we have a lot of, the greener dispatchers who
Mhm.
still need some help in listening to these calls and need to have an extra set of eyes and ears. However, due to the staffing crisis, a lot of times that trainer's busy doing something else in the room. So being able to have, again, that extra set of ears that's giving them the information that can alert, a supervisor in the room, hey, this is the type of call they're taking. You're probably going to want to jump onto this one. Just having that real time, actionable kind of QAing ability to make sure that everything's being handled as it should be real time instead of, 2, 3 weeks later when we realize, oh man, they really messed this one up. They can be right there and have their back the whole time.
So that is excellent, and that's one of the features that I wanna get into here as well in a moment, but before we get into some of these other, features and some of the stories that come along with, use cases and such, a question for the both of you. When we're talking about the staffing crisis, and we're not just talking technology or anything, but just across the board, in your opinions, how do we get people to stay? Because having technology like this is amazing, right? And it does help people do more with less. And for the centers, right, that don't have a lot of folks, and this helps with so many pieces, right? But for the overall part of the staffing crisis, because the both of you come from the center, my question: how do we get people to stay? What do you think? What are your thoughts, Sandra? Go for it.
It's a different time now. There's not as many benefits lying out there as far as promises of pension and so forth. So how do you keep someone to stay in the seat when there is um, little monetary gain for them? And I think that it's mainly because they have a sense of service beyond self. And I think when we convince dispatchers that what they're doing is noble beyond, and it's beyond theirself, it's bigger than them really, the how
Right.
that they're able to contribute. And I think that when they look at themselves as, they get to be that caped hero every day that sits with someone when they're vulnerable and in need of help, and they get the opportunity, and it really is an opportunity that we have to help them in those moments. If we just make sure that they go at it, they're in the business, and recognize them that they have put service above self. I think that that's going to go a long way with that mentality.
What about you, Justin?
Obviously, a hot topic button here, but several key elements that I think, and some of them are starting to be addressed, as we move forward. But one of those big ones is realizing that mental health is a major issue in dispatch. Um, the things we hear and listen to, the things that are happening, it does take a toll on you, even if it's just the everyday, the repetitive non-emergency calls. It eventually weighs down and burns people out. Being able to see those, address those, and have some sort of plan in place within your center to make sure that your staff knows you care, and are working to address those issues and make sure that they are okay, is a big one. That goes a long, long way when they just know someone actually cares. Someone's thinking about me, making sure that I'm okay. And the other part is, reclassification. I know it's some states are moving forward with it. It's my opinion, we need to do it nationally. Dispatchers 100% need to be classified not as secretaries. We need to be classified as first responders.
Yeah, I agree. I have I feel as though there's a lot of variables, right? There's a lot of different factors that go into this specific topic. For me, I feel like it's simple communication. And the reason I say simple communication is because there are a lot of people who simply go into dispatch feeling unrecognized and unheard. And I recently had a conversation with my buddy Brad Flanagan, and he said something that I'm going to repeat here. And basically, what he said was, if we can show them as managers that we give a shit, maybe people will stay. And a lot of that with communication, which is crazy to think, right? Because we are awesome with communication, but when it comes to communicating with each other, it's not always there. And you see people on social media, they just abruptly end up saying, you know, I went in and I told my manager today, or director, assistant director, whichever, that I'm done. But what if one of those folks, whether it be someone in power or a supervisor or even just a coworker, that these people didn't feel welcomed there, or it was somebody new who people aren't learning their name because they're eating their young, right? But what if all it took was someone saying, "Hey, how are you doing? How are things going?" What if it was just that and they decided to stay because someone actually cared? So I just wanted to put that out there. I just wanted to see, because, all of this is amazing, and I can't wait to hear more of what the services that Prepared has, and helping, with short staffing and such. But when we talk about the bigger picture and getting people to actually stay, I kind of feel like the communication piece, man, that's a big one. What do
Well,
you
let me
think?
ask you something. Let me ask you
Mhm.
something. So,
Sure.
since we're on this discussion, we're just going to flow openly. Do
Of
you
course.
think that any supervisor or director, whatever the title is, should be shocked that someone is leaving, or should they already have a sense that someone is not happy, that they're and have already tried to address whatever reason somebody's leaving? It always it's kind of astonishing to me that they didn't know so and so was unhappy and quitting. Well, that says a lot about the director too. How did you not know that they were already to that point?
Right, and I
So,
think that is one of those big things, as you're saying, I think that, um, in a way, right, it shouldn't be surprising, but there are some who might not be fully there. They might not
true.
be fully thinking, because you know what? Maybe they themselves are ready to go too, and they just don't care. So anybody else that's there, so here's the thing. There's a saying that says, hurt people." And it might just be this continued vicious cycle where this is the way someone was being treated, so now they don't care, which actually sucks, right? So
Mhm.
you're right, some people shouldn't be surprised, but there are others who are just just collecting a paycheck, you know?
Yep.
It could be that way, but I don't know. It's a big thing. But I just
Mhm.
think that that simple piece of communication, well, it seems simple, but right, a lot of times people don't want to have those hard conversations. And I think that's why programs like this and the conversations that we're having are so important.
Absolutely.
I think that the way we're gonna be able to get through this is really, there's all of these good things, but I think really we're just gonna have to rely on each other, trust each other, talk to each other, and maybe we can bridge a gap between whether it be management and those on the front line or seasoned dispatchers and new dispatchers coming in. I think we somehow have to bridge that gap. But to start out with, we also have services like this that can help out in some of those places until these pieces are put into place. But we just got to keep talking about it, right? We just got to keep having that conversation. So, as we go along into what it is that we're talking about here, there were some pieces that a lot of people were asking when it comes to the transcription piece. And let's just say, for example, and I want to see if you're able to tell me this as well. So here's an example. I'm on radios and I have, some info that comes in from an officer and I don't catch it right away. And I try to ask them to repeat and they're unable to say. Is there a possibility that this is, recorded somewhere? Because we've got recorders, right? But sometimes those recorders, you can't rely on it. You have to ask them to repeat it. But as a backup piece, is there anything with transcription that kind of helps with that type of traffic as well?
A Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, down in Hawkins, Tennessee, they just experienced this a few weeks ago, where their recorders went
Mhm.
down. Their digital recorders had went down, and of course, because Prepared was actually captures that transcription, all was not lost. Everything was still recorded, documented. That we were able to capture that in the cloud. So they, even though that they couldn't get, even if they couldn't get a hold of their recording system, folks, they
Mhm.
still had the that repetitiveness because they had Prepared, and they were still able to document everything.
That's awesome. So then,
Yeah.
again, with the benefit and everything, is
Yeah.
there how do people do that in a fast way? Is there like a double click or how exactly does that work?
No, actually, with the transcription piece, and that works great for visual people like me.
Mhm.
I'm a visual learner. It's one thing to hear it in your ear, and I think maybe that's why I struggled so hard in the beginning. But if I'm able to see it, so you're
Right.
literally, it just clicks on automatically. It's transcribing every word is said. Everything is automatically coming across the screen, and you can copy and paste as you need to over into your CAD notes, or whew, think about dispatchers and spelling sometimes. So, but it gets rid
Yeah.
of that. It gets rid of a lot of that. So it just transcribes that, and you can copy and paste it over. So it saves a lot of extra typing because you're just able to just capture it and copy and
So
paste it.
So I have to call you out on the way we type. I have
Mhm.
to ask because this is the way I did it too, and a lot of the people that I worked with did it the same way. And Justin, I don't know, maybe you did it too, but let's say you're typing something in and you want to say assault. It was like ASLT, or you would just say DV, or in route is ENR. Those, and sometimes the officers would read that and say, I don't know what the hell this is. Like, what
Oh,
is this? So those pieces or this what you just said, I mean, that'll help with a lot of that, right?
oh, absolutely. Yes, it will. I
I
was
mean,
the same. I was the same. And
yeah.
then you have to figure out if you're a keyboarder or a mouser, which one do you like to be, and how fast you can be with it. And it just takes all of that away. You're so much quicker now. That's what they're experiencing just because of the copy and paste feature.
I say
I
we actually had a section of our training class when we had new hires come in, where it was just on abbreviations that the dispatchers use that would be helpful for you to know, so that when you come back to the comm center, you're not surprised and like, what does that mean? Even for our own staff that we were getting ready to bring onto the floor.
Oh, that is great because I remember an older system that we had, it was just all command line codes. And sometimes those codes would, for whatever
Mhm.
reason, it's just us typing fast, I guess, they would end up in the narrative. And yeah, officers would send us messages like, I don't know what this means. And I would say, you don't need to know what it means. Our commands ended up getting in there. My bad. So no, this is good. This is really cool that this is a feature that is in there already, and will make it that much faster and understandable. That
And
people will be able to read it.
yes,
Um,
absolutely. And there's actually an agency chat feature where they can just push stuff out to the field units too. There's all kinds of great features in there to try and like I said, it's assistive technology, all kinds of things to make it quicker.
I'm digging that. So, one of the other things that I remember having issues with sometimes was, well, to an extent, okay, because I can translate in Spanish, but there are a lot of different regions, a lot of different languages, all of this that pops up. So when we're talking about um, language translations, where does prepared sit on that topic, and how do you implement that? How is that part of your service?
Justin, do you want to take this one?
Go ahead, Sandra.
Okay. Um, as far as with the language translations, we right now auto translate over 140 languages. So if you have the translation feature, we have found great value for our clients for that, because a lot of times anymore, if they're trying to get a hold of a language line, sometimes depending on which language they're trying to find, it's hard for language line to find someone. And those are billable minutes, that are happening. And if you take a language line call and you have to transfer it to a neighboring jurisdiction, you're still fitting the bill for that call while it's going on. So that's been a lot of a problem. So we've tried to address that to just make it seamless, that if you're needing to translate what someone is saying immediately, we can do that. Now on the transcription part, I believe it's around 17, 19, and continues to grow every week, is on the transcription part, that it'll automatically transcribe for you. But that's kind of where we're sitting, where they can, it'll automatically show both languages, automatically detects which language it is, and it is so simple to actually implement. It usually takes just a couple of weeks.
And not only is it, billable minutes that we're speaking of there, but it's also minutes when in a emergency we don't have that the caller might not have.
Very true.
Sometimes it's a non-emergency and we get the translator on the phone and we realize, this wasn't an emergency after all. Then there's those times where it is truly an emergency and
Right.
those couple minutes went by. Let's get that information, get the address, find out what that emergency is, and get them started out there as soon as possible instead of delaying.
And not only that, me and Justin was talking about this last week. How many times does someone actually have language line going, and it's 3 minutes longer? They've had a 3-minute conversation, and language line comes back and said they said yes, and you're like, you was on the phone 3 minutes. I know they said more than just that. Well, if you have the transcription piece and all of that's being transcribed, and you can actually follow that conversation at the same time too. It's actually pretty fun to watch.
See, that is pretty awesome right there. I like that. What I didn't know, however, is what you guys were saying in the beginning, that if you go to transfer, that you're still footing the bill for that. That I didn't know.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting right there. So, okay, so we've got this part. How does this work with, let's say, like a relay service? And the reason I ask as well, um, is I remember being in dispatch and having someone call on a relay service, and because they have them on like a video screen or whichever, and they would say, "Okay, I'm with so and so. We've got this going. Just talk to me as if you were talking to this person." And I would do this every time. I would be talking to the person. I would say, "Can you ask them this?" And they would go, "No, no, no, not no. You don't say it. Just talk to me like you're talking to them." Oh, yeah, no, my bad. And then you continue going, and then it might happen one or two more times, and they're probably pissed at me by that time. But how does this work with the relay service? Pretty much the same, or
Yeah,
Pretty much
pretty
the
much.
same.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right.
But except the relay, yeah, pretty much the same, except the relay services, they really are. They're struggling with the staffing issues themselves. So it is a
Oh,
struggle sometimes to even find someone who speaks some of these different languages. Is
mhm.
really across the country. They're having an influx right now of foreign speaking or groups within their community. So um, it really is helping to address that. We see a lot of success with the transcription piece and the translation.
Excellent. Now that is good. And so what I want to do now is, we know a lot more about this, about the service, about prepared, which is awesome and really cool that people are using this. And when I posted one of the first posts out there, that one, that we were partnering up and everything for this month, and some of the cool content that was going to be coming out, and I had put something out there, and there were, I don't know, about 30 or so comments. So I just want to read a couple of them before we get into, some of these use cases to hear how people are using this. But this was one of them here, and I don't believe they put what agency they're with, which is fine. But I just want to read this really quick and just kind of get your take on it, and see if these are, kind of similar to a lot of the things that you are, seeing, hearing, whichever, in the case of the service you provide, rather, and how people are using it. So this first person here says, our agency uses Prepared. I find the technology invaluable. Another dispatcher in our agency used Prepared during a vehicle burglary, and we were able to see the suspect on camera and get quick updates out to our deputies. I personally find it difficult to get callers to email me information. With Prepared, if I ask them if their phone receives texts, people find the process of going live or texting information a lot easier. Plus, deputies can get the link to my chat with the caller and see everything being sent and said. This was a long comment, so hang with me. So they also say our area has a lot of bike trails. I had a caller who, let's see, I think it says crashed their bike, but didn't know where they were. I sent him the Prepared link, and we were able to share it with responding deputies. By the time help got to him, he was showing signs of concussion. And so he didn't know, who he was or what happened or anything else. They go on to end up saying that they also had a caller telling them that there was a man in her apartment. I sent her a live link, and we were able to determine that she was hallucinating prior to law enforcement getting on scene, which helped better prepare them. No pun intended, help better prepare them for how to get into the apartment and help her. This person says, I am a huge advocate for this company.
Well, I'll take that all day. That's all I can say. I mean, it's very satisfying, and it verifies that the long hours of work and stuff that the whole company has put in to try and help, that they're actually using an appreciation effort that
Mhm.
we're working toward. We're helping. We're doing what we set out to do. But you,
And these
Justin, I love it.
Yeah, these use cases, we get to hear a lot of them, and it's truly amazing when you get to hear them. But 2 points to point on there is, they said about it's difficult to get someone to email,
Mhm.
difficult to get someone to answer the phone for us anymore either. Unfortunately, as a texting society, that's where a lot of it comes in. People are more comfortable texting. They're easier to go to their text since they live in it most days. So might as well take advantage of it and use it to our advantage to get the information that we need to help us do our jobs and help our responders get out to these scenes with the information they need. Instead of getting that vague, terrible description from the caller, let's see the person so that we can provide a much better trained description. Or in this case here, send it right out to them. They know exactly who they're looking for now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There was another one here that says, we have it and love it. Love the translation service. Have used it to find an injured person in a remote area through the video. Had a threatened person send screenshots of the threats, which can be used in court. And it says, plus we get a quicker response to 911 hangups than calling back.
I love it. Just think of what kind of heroes they just become, not only in the dispatch center, but for the prosecution. Just say it. I mean, what better gift did you give them than something that's done on tape? I
Right.
love it. So, you know, you just become somebody's hero for the day, because it's going to be kind of hard to argue something that they was able to catch on tape. And for the screenshots, how easy is that for case management, that they can just, instead of having to go in there and look on somebody's social media page and see if they really posted something, when they can just send it to you instead of you know, uh, social stalking their pages.
Yeah.
So it's just a more professional way of handling it, really. So we use
Right.
what we got, and I think it's great.
I
Well
bring up
done. Well done.
I bring up social media detective work quite often on my trainings and how that
Mhm.
Prepared helps alleviate some of that. But right there in the comment there, they said it right off the bat. A quicker and easier way to deal with, and in that case, it was 911 hangups. But it's a lot of these calls.
Mhm.
Again, we talked about short staffing earlier. We're getting more and more calls with less and less people. Finding the quick, easy ways to help us get back to what we're doing, even if it's a 30-second break in between calls. I'll take that 30 seconds.
Right. Yeah, yeah, exactly, because a lot of times you're just jumping right in to the next one, especially if you're short staffed, you're definitely jumping right in, but stuff like this, it saves a lot of that time. So this is excellent. Now, there's a bunch more comments here, but I also wanted to go back into my notes here because there was talk about something in I believe it was Hawkins County where there were phone lines that went down and folks were using prepared to kind of combat this a little bit. Can you either one of you tell me about that?
Yeah, that's when they was using the transcription when their voice recorder had went down, so they were able to have that just that redundancy. So all was not lost. So that was a great. It was a very unique. We're not a recording system. That's not what we
Mhm.
set out to do. But it was a really a genius way that the folks there was able to use our technology for their needs.
Was that the same in out in Pennsylvania? There was I think there was something similar in Pennsylvania where a storm was like preventing 911 calls from coming through and such, and I mean they were able to utilize your service there as well.
Yeah,
Justin's from that area. You want to speak on it?
yeah. In that case, it was actually a storm that had come through. A tree came down, took out the fiber optic line, which took down all the 911 lines.
Oh
People were
man.
all getting a busy signal. I believe it affected 16 or 17 different 911 centers. The way we're based here, it's countywide centers. Um, they were able to see uh, calls that were coming in, but no way to communicate with them. But they had prepared. The agencies that had prepared were able to send a message out to each one of those phone numbers, letting them know, "Hey, our phone lines are down. This is 911. Please provide us your address and a description of your emergency that we can get you help." Kept that line of communication open with all those individuals, making sure they could get the help they needed.
So you have a form of mass notification then?
This is when those calls were coming in, they were able to see that someone has placed the 911 call. However, they had no ability to take the call. They were able to send those messages out to those phone numbers, letting them know that unfortunately the phone lines are down, and
And
communicate
I
with them
think
now.
I
Gotcha.
think that's a huge misconception when people think about prepared. They almost think that it has to be a 911 call, and it
Mm,
doesn't. That's the great thing. This can be initiated with anyone with a cell phone. Like if I wanted to send you out a chat message or a text message, I could do that to your phone. It doesn't have to be someone who has dialed 911. And I think that gets overlooked a lot because if you needed to send it a link given to a field responder so you could see what was happening on scene, great. Or if you just maybe you needed to reach out to another dispatch center, it really is limitless. So yeah.
So that is a good one to know as well because you're right. There's probably a lot of people out there who are probably watching this or will see it in the replay and think, "Is this only to be used for 911?" But I think it's also cool too, and you guys probably do this. It's the same that I did, like I was saying when I was within digital and stuff. I would tell them, play around with it, break it, like try to break it so that we can learn from each other and at least from the texting aspect of it. I would be in there training them and they would be texting each other and they would be pulling it up to see what it looks like to the caller versus the way it looks to dispatch, and they would just be just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it was really cool to not only see that satisfaction of something that you're involved with rather, with your company, something that you put out there, but to also see them getting so much use out of it already, even if they're just testing it on each other, but then to think how they're going to be using it later on with those out in the community.
And a lot of it comes down to too, hey, the emergency call is great. We were able to help you get the information. But again, go back to that. Let's save you time and energy. What is holding you down in dispatch? What kind of calls are you having to give the same phone number for several times in a week or in a month? Do you have to redirect somebody to a website for online reporting because it's not a case where you're sending an officer out to? Instead of waiting for that caller to go get pen and paper and verbally provide them with that information, "Hey, are you calling me from a cell phone and can you receive text messages?" "Yes." "Awesome. I just sent you." And right there's the pre-canned message to report your vehicle damage or whatever it is. There's the website. It's going to take them right to it. Save ourselves time and energy. We didn't have to repeat ourselves with the same phone number 20 times in a day.
Yeah, right. Yes, no, exactly. That's one of those benefits and all. But also when we're talking, and you guys kind of both touched on this a little bit, but for the information that ends up getting collected, not just for those in dispatch, for the entire, let's say, county, it's sheriff's department, city PD, whatever. But talking about kickstarting like investigations, some of this information, is it easy enough to pull, or are you able to just simply send it quickly to them as it's going in real time too, so that they have it for their investigations? How does that piece work?
Yeah, we can, the information can be pulled, in case they need it after the fact, but we do have the capability to send it out to them in real time. You have a missing person. We want to get that photo out there to them, this picture of the suspect, the location where it's happening. It will even give them, directions to the scene. So the officer doesn't have to key up and ask us, hey, where am I heading? It's all right there for them. Walk them in. They're able to see, the information that we've collected so they can act on it.
Yeah, as a
Perfect.
matter of fact, since you mentioned that, there was a group down in Florida that we had a great success case with, where they were able to push out the picture of two autistic children that were missing. And the officer going down the street was able to recognize, there's the kids, because he had actually seen a picture of it that had been pushed out by dispatch. So that was one of our Florida agencies that was all's well that ends well, right?
Oh, that yes. And that is excellent to be able to have that information right there in your hands, to be able to see, like you were saying, to be able to see the kids right there and being like, "Oh, there they are. They're right there."
Yeah.
You know exactly what they look like, and you don't have to worry about I'll say this really quick. When I was first dispatching in Florida, ironically enough, they were teaching us how, people, they see what they wanna see, in those quick moments, and they think they've seen everything. Everybody is like that in emergency, right? And so they had someone come in, and they handed the instructor something and then walked all the way around, and everyone's kinda looking at this person just thinking, "Well, that was kinda weird." And after a little bit, the instructor says, "What was that person wearing?" So then we all start saying, like, what we thought the person was wearing, and we were all wrong. Not one of us got it right, and the person was right in front of us. What that person gave the instructor was a picture of themselves. Someone took a picture of them, and they put it, and so he turned the picture around and said, "This is what the person was wearing." So he's trying to prove this point. And so what I'm getting at here is that stuff like this saves that, because now you don't have to, you might get something right from the caller, what they're saying on the phone, but you end up getting a picture or something, and you get exactly what it is that they're wearing.
Yeah.
Again, saving that time. So that's awesome.
It's good stuff. The dispatch loves it. I'm just saying, that dispatchers love having that ability to go eyes on scene for themselves. Yeah.
Perfect. So as we go into the wrap up of this round 39 of the Dispatchers Roundtable, I have had the pleasure of having the both of you on here, learning about you, but more so learning more about Prepared and the services and everything that you guys offered. This has been excellent. So thank you both for being on here. But I have a question for the both of you as we go into the wrap up of this. For anyone who might be on the fence of kind of jumping in to new technology and everything, because there's a lot of places out there that probably are waiting, right? They're probably just waiting until they're, I don't know, mandated or whichever to do something, because nobody likes change, right? But there's a lot of good in change that can come from new technology, new anything really. So for anyone who is on the fence of going into new technology or using a service like Prepared, what would you say to them from each one of you? So Sandra, let's start with you, please.
I would tell him that change is pain. It really is, regardless to
Mhm.
if you're changing to a new cellular device or if you're getting a new CAD system. There's always a little bit of uncomfortability that's going to last for just a few weeks. That's the good part. It will go away. It'll dissipate, and then you've learned a new skill and you have a new tool in your toolbox. So I would say to anyone who is on the fence, that may have some questions or wonder what the rest of the industry is doing, we're happy if you want to reach out to us, and we'll put you in touch with some other folks so you can see how they've addressed some of these issues. But why wouldn't you? If I could bring in a technology into my center that is next gen 911 level, and everyone gets to go home of the evening, why wouldn't I do that?
I like that. Justin, how about you?
Exactly what Sandra said there. Why not give ourselves, the tool that's going to help us do our job better? Take some of those questions out from ourselves at the end of the day when we leave, and we made sure, everyone we were dealing with got to go home to their families at the end of the day. And for the ones that are on the fence, not sure, can I take this project on? Can I handle this project? Do I want to do this project right now? Reach out. As I said earlier, when I work with agencies, I find out, what are you dealing with? How can I help you? What speed do we need to go at for you? We customize that to your agency, understanding what your agency is currently facing, and what your concerns and fears are. We work around those and help you get that rolled out, customizable to you. It's not, again, not every agency is one size fits all. We figure out how we can best help you out.
Excellent. Now, I want to read one last comment before we wrap this up, because I think this one is important as well as we talk about those who might be on the fence. So this is what the comment says. It says here, my agency uses Prepared Live, and it has made a huge difference. The text feature has allowed us to attach suspect photos to our CAD for the deputies to see. We even used it the other night for a carry-out water rescue type situation. Excuse me. My medicine is starting to wear off. Situation to assist the SAR leader and locating the patient. Well, here's the last thing that it says, and this is the important part as well. All of it is important, right? But this is the one that really brings it home. And it says, I admit I was skeptical and irritated of another software to open, but it earned my approval within my first shift using it. So there you go.
Love it.
So, for those who are watching and listening, where can they find more about Prepared?
Sandra, go ahead.
Okay, just prepared911.com. Feel free. They can reach out. I'm sure they can reach out to you, and you can put them in touch with some of our folks. You can reach me at Sondra, and that's Sondra at prepared911.com. And you can also reach out to Justin, visit our website, look at the success stories, read for yourself what all some of the things that we're involved in and the successes that agencies usually you see a pretty good, almost newsworthy event pretty quickly after implementation of the process. So that's all I can say. It's good stuff.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you, both of you, for being on. And if you can hang tight here, I'm going to be right back with you in just one moment. And this was an excellent round. Round 39 of the Dispatchers Roundtable, and we learned a lot more about Prepared. Again, thank you to Sandra and Justin for being on and just chatting about the features and the benefits, these stories that go along with it, because I think that's one of the biggest things is, you can have all the hard data, you can have all just everything that goes there, but you also need those stories to go with it. And that's what we did here. And I thank them very much for being on, and also for, the information or their thoughts and opinions on how we can get people to stay as we're talking about the short staffing crisis, but also the, assistive technology to be able to assist that as we're going through this big process. So this has been an excellent round once again. And I thank you, all of you, for being here, whether you're watching live right now or in the on demand and the replay. So thank you all for being here and for everything that you do. So if you have any comments, questions, or you have a topic for the Dispatchers Roundtable that you want to throw out there and we can add in, you can email me, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that is wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can become a supporter of Within the Trenches media, of the Within the Trenches podcast, by going to Patreon or Facebook. But the easiest way to do all of this is to simply go to links.co/WTT podcast. And that's links with two I's.co/WTT podcast. And you'll find everything there, my email, all of my social media, where to follow, the latest episode of Within the Trenches podcast. You'll also find information on Imagine Listening, where you can purchase the book, volume 2 of the book that launches this August 4th of 2024. You can also be a guest There's so much information that is on there, so make sure to check that out. And this live broadcast has been sponsored by In Digital as well as Prepared. And again, if you have any other information, you can check them out. That is prepared911.com. And this can be seen on Facebook, LinkedIn Live, YouTube, X, as well as Instagram. And for the flagship show Within the Trenches podcast, you can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you all in the next one.